I'd like to talk to you about my guest today. My guest today is Charles McLaughlin. He's the project HSE manager for Dar Al Handasa and the Royal Commission for Riyadh City. Let's just say that in terms of Charles's profile, he is based in Riyadh and he's a project HSE manager on the Riyadh Bus Rapid Transit BRT project. It's the largest project and most geographically complex of its kind anywhere in the world. He's a chartered manager and chartered safety practitioner, and one day he wants to travel on the Trans-Siberian Express. I think that's something that I'd like to do as well. So without wasting any more time, let me bring Charles into the discussion and see what he's up to and how he's getting on. Charles, a very warm welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, Sonny. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you.
Delighted to be here. Really, yes.
Yeah, good to see you too. I noticed we've already got some problems on LinkedIn, on the feed, so bear with me while I try and sort that out. Yeah, we're back on live now on LinkedIn. As I said at the beginning, there is always these gremlins associated with these live feeds.
Absolutely,
hey,
yeah.
What life would be boring if we didn't have these challenges, wouldn't we? So, Charlie, thank you.
Without a doubt.
Charlie, you've gone to a lot of effort to prepare a slideshow. So what I want to do with you, and just to let you know that I've got Sanjay from the stream team with me today. So I'm going to add Sanjay to the stream as well, and just to sort of get the conversations going as well. Sanjay, how are you?
Sure,
Charlie, meet
Sanjay. I'm good. Hi, Charlie. How are you?
So what we'll do is...
Hello, Sanjay. How are you doing?
I'm good.
There is a bit of a time lag, and comments will start to come in as well. So why don't we do this then, Charlie? Let's dive into this slideshow so that we can basically get your thoughts. So let's start with this first one. Oh, I have the slide pack at my end, so just tell me to go forward on these slides, okay, when you're ready.
Yeah, so, sure. I've got a kind of soft copy here and a hard copy here anyway, so if necessary, we can go through that. Okay. So obviously today's discussion, we're looking at what is workforce engagement, and certainly from my perspective, I think health and safety, it kind of defaults to consultation, which particularly in the UK there's a legal requirement to do that, and getting buy-in, if you will, and when we put a safety initiative or we want to get an ISO 45001 certificate, we get our people together and we consult with them, and we are hoping that they're going to be engaged in and lead us through to what we want to achieve. However, there are many people out there who find their work to be a deeply positive and perhaps even a life-affirming experience, and they find their work enjoyable, challenging, and meaningful. So if we use those people as our model, if you will, so to improve our workplace engagement and to get us to that level of where these people are engaged, I think we need to understand it a little bit better. And I also think there are other factors that come into it that will help us to make sure that people are appropriately engaged within the workforce and primarily working at their optimum. So what I've done is I've broken this down into, you've got your little heat map there, your little traffic light, and that'll come into, that will become more apparent as we go through it. So you've got three aspects here. You've got those that are engaged, those that are actively disengaged, and those that are not engaged. And those that are engaged they're highly involved. They're what I might call organizational citizens. They're involved in the coffee mornings and the charity work, and they derive a whole lot of pleasure from being at work, the social aspect and things like that. They're probably very highly competent. They'll be challenged. They will require probably very little management and control, if you will. That's the ideal scenario right at the top of those people who are engaged in the workplace. When we drop down another level, we've got those who are actively disengaged. And even whether it's occupational health and safety, or it's engineering, or it's petrochem, or whatever you're working in, these people are perhaps what you might call the organisational malcontents. They are never happy, no matter what you do, no matter what you put in place. They're actually happy. Yeah, absolutely. They're actually happy being miserable. But that and I know there's a contradiction in terms, but they're happy being miserable. But what you'll find is that those people who are actively disengaged don't last very long, will disappear, will go and look for another job, and all those sorts of things. So then we drop down to, and the reason I put them in this order is that at the bottom, and I put a little heat map there with the red on it, is we're looking at those that are not engaged. And as far as I'm concerned, we have an opportunity here. We have an opportunity to move those who are not engaged into the engaged at the very top, because if we're not careful, those who are not engaged could quite easily drop into the actively disengaged aspect of this. Okay, so when you're looking at workforce engagement and you're looking at your safety programs and things like that, you want to put a team together for it and things like that. Then have we got the right people? Have we got the right people who are engaged? There may be people who we want to bring in to move things forward who are not engaged. And they might not be engaged for some very simple reasons. They might be badly managed. They might be badly led. They might not be playing to their strengths. They might be a square peg in a round hole, if you will. They might be very, very qualified, but in a repetitive, monotonous job that doesn't provide them with any meaning. So those people there, I think those individuals there is where we should be concentrating on with our workplace engagement, because, like I said, it's very easy for them to slip into this actively disengaged, and before you know it, we've lost them and they've gone out the door. So if we're looking at workforce engagement in general terms, we've got those that are engaged, those that are actively disengaged, the organisational malcontents, and we've got those that are not engaged. And I think that those that are not engaged is where we should focus our priorities on.
Right. So really, there's a gradient here, isn't there, in terms of engagement? Those who have eyes open, ears are open, audio, visuals happening, and they're fully committed. Then you got the next layer down, which is actively disengaged, where they may be listening, but then the mechanics aren't happening there, and those are just blinkered, have absolutely no Okay, good, I understand. Okay, right. Shall I move to the next slide then, Charlie?
You can, yes, absolutely. The next slide will be actually brings it a little bit more into focus on why it's important and why people become actively disengaged and why they're not engaged at all. So we've got a.
Can I just say you're very popular, because Jorge has also joined our live feed. So I'm gonna add him to the stream if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, yes. The more the better.
Yeah. Hi, Jorge. How are you?
Fine, thank you. You?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. So we're just going through some of the slides, Jorge. Charlie, meet Jorge.
No problem, Sammy.
So I'm gonna mute you guys, and then let Charlie not get disturbed by us doing this slide. All right, Charlie. So go for it now. So why is it important?
Well, first of all, I think when we look at how important it is that there's some analysis done by Gallup. Gallup's an analytical and advisory company based in the US. They've been in operation since 1935. So the information that they provide through their employee engagement surveys and everything else they do, particularly around polling, the information you get from them we could consider to be reasonably sound, and it shows that when you're engaged, the performance outcome of the organisation can be achieved. However, there are certain things that can derail that pretty quickly. So what we've got here on this slide is, if you look along the top there, it's got in green, it's got the percentage of people engaged, and then on the next one, it's got the percentage of people who are actively disengaged. And the top green line, 37% in March, and then 38% in May, and it drops down to 31% in June. Now, what Gallup are saying is that this is the first time in their recorded history that of tracking employee engagement in the US dating back to 2000. That's the most significant drop that they have seen. And there's a variety of reasons for that. There is the aspect of the ongoing sort of socio-political unrest that we've got in the States at the moment. We've got the death of George Floyd. We've got COVID-19. We've got people that are being furloughed, people that have lost members of the family, etc. So that there's a whole gamut of things going on outside the organisation and internally that is driving down employee engagement. And it's no wonder if you're trying to get people engaged in your workforce, all of a sudden that they've been furloughed or they've lost a member of the family. Their focus is not going to be on what you want to do within the organisation.
Yeah.
The other most interesting aspect of this dramatic drop is that people are being moved to their homes to work. And what's happened there is that social intercourse, that social relationship that people find so important with their work has been taken away from them. And I think that plays an extremely important role in what we'll talk about further on, this social relationship that we have within our workplace. So that the trends there are it's clear, but the actual the mechanics behind it that has caused that are multiple and varied: socio-political, personal trauma, and things like that. But what I find most interesting is that those who are actively disengaged hasn't really changed at all. And you know, it's gone from 15 to 13 in May, and then it's actually gone up 1% in June. I go back to these organisational malcontents. They're happy being miserable, and no matter what goes on, they're just going to continue doing what they're doing. You know, making life miserable for themselves and others. But anyway, that I think that's an important slide to set an idea of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we've got some questions coming in, and I'm mindful you want to go through these slides. What I'll do, Egwed and Taner, is I'll go back to the questions that you guys have asked, and it's specifically about actively disengaged. If I may, I'll just leave it for you, Charlie, to go through these slides.
Sure.
So this is the other slide that you had up, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the third one, and this again, this is from Gallup. And this again proves how important workplace engagement is, particularly around occupational health and safety. Yeah. Now, behind this meta-analysis study, there's a lot of other data, and you would need to go onto the Gallup website to find it. But what I was blown away with was the amount of information that they have brought in. 82,000 business units, 1.8 million employees, 230 organizations, 49 industries in 73 countries. That's an awful lot of information and an awful lot of survey, and they've crunched all that down, and what they've said is that using their employee engagement database, these organizations that have a workforce that's fully engaged has 70% fewer safety incidents compared with the bottom quartile units.
Oh, interesting.
So if anyone thinks that, so if anyone thinks that workplace engagement is not important, then there's proof positive that it absolutely is.
Good. I've got some questions on this, but we'll come back to it.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
The next slide you had up was the drivers and factors associated with workforce engagement.
Yeah.
So this is the driving piece, isn't it?
Yeah. So the drivers part right at the bottom there, you've got the factors that increase or decrease how engaged someone feels about their workplace safety. Going back to what we talked about. Going back to what we talked about earlier, the factors that increase it might be that you may have had a member of your family that was injured previously, and you want to be engaged in workplace safety. You want to be part of the change that they want to have. What decreases it may be that you may have had a bad experience previously in an organisation where safety was lip service and nobody really bothered. So your mindset is defaults back to the previous organisation. It wasn't really very good and all that sort of stuff. So you have a different opinion of it. But there's also those factors that we talked about. You might have a bad HSE manager. Your job could be repetitive and monotonous and things like that. So there's a lot of internal and external factors that drive this engagement forward. And again, we just have to be aware of that. It could be societal, it could be internal, it could be external, it could be personal, as much as anything else. Bearing in mind that everybody who comes to work brings their luggage of life with them, and we have to be aware of that. That moves us forward into that. The thoughts and feelings they have held about workplace safety over a period, which again drops back to what I was talking about. I think what we find is that there's a certain level of cynicism around occupational health and safety at the moment in certain circles, and driving through that cynicism to get people engaged in it is incredibly difficult now.
Why is that, Charlie? I mean, I might be preempting some questions later on. Actually,
Sure.
I'll tell you what, I probably am, because I've got a set of questions for you. Let me just let you carry on, and then I'll come in towards the end.
Sure. So in reality, this is just a simple management process: input, throughput, and your output. But it puts it sort of into simple graphics here. So everything are internal and external drivers, the socio-political, the organisation, whatever it is you're going to be looking at, experience or engagement that you've had previously could have been great, and all of a sudden you come to an organisation and they don't have that, or you've had a previous organisation where the safety hasn't been very good. So you're very cynical about what's going on. All of these things come together to the end of this, and the consequences of the engagement level experience. It all comes together, and like I said right at the very start, I think we have to consider workplace engagement in a more holistic and perhaps even a more personal level.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings you nicely to the framework, doesn't it? That you want to talk about. I'm going to flick the slide up.
Sure.
I just threw some words into this slide.
That's not a problem. I don't find that's not a problem. Yeah.
So it's the Seligman's PERMA model. Tell us a little bit about the PERMA model. What exactly is it?
Okay, so Martin Seligman is the founder or the father of what we call positive psychology, and fundamentally he's a chartered psychologist. He's professor at Penn State University. He established and heads up the US Army's Master Resilience Program. He's multiple author, journals, etc., etc., etc. And what they looked at with regards to positive psychology was that, in general terms, if you look at psychology, people will say to you, "What's wrong with you?" And he flipped that over and said, "Okay, well, what's right with you?"
Yeah.
And that was then this was where the aspect of positive psychology came from. Positive psychology is going into a second wave at the moment, where they're now trying to balance what Seligman hypothesizes and has been writing about for some time with some realism. Life, people can suffer, things go wrong. We have to balance that with what he was trying to do with this. So engagement is part of this model that he hypothesized. In 2011, it came to, he put it together. And it contains 5 elements of what we would consider to be a flourishing life. Right. We've got purpose, we've got meaning, we're enjoying it. There are many factors involved that allow us to flourish, both at work and in our private lives with our families. And this model can be used individually. I use it. It can be used when you're looking at your teams. It can be looked at from a company and an organizational perspective. So if we the outside of it, we start with positive emotions. So joy, excitement, enthusiasm, all of those things that get the endorphins flowing. And engagement, we'll talk about
Charlie, we seem to have lost you.
I thought I've dropped out. I think I've dropped out.
That's all right. You're back now.
Hey, I'm back. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, gremlins
are at it again.
Yes. So, and then we look into relationships, which really should be authentic and meaningful. And then meaning, people confuse. Well, they don't confuse purpose and meaning, but they can be used interchangeably. So purpose. My job provides me with a purpose. It enables me to get out of my bed in the morning and go to work. Meaning is when I finish working and I come back and play with my grandchildren. That provides me with meaning. So we have to understand the difference between purpose and meaning. And an awful lot of people do get an awful lot of meaning from the work, particularly those people who work in perhaps the social services or the care services. They get purpose and meaning. And then we've got achievement, reward, recognition, achieving a goal or achieving a target and things like that. So if you put all of this together, these building blocks, if you will, and we include engagement with this, then we tend to look at the complete person. But the thing with this model is it's like you've got building blocks. We look at the positive emotions. We look at the engagement. We look at the relationships, the meaning, and achievement. And if we can try and get the best out of all of them, then we can move forward with what we want to do with our initiatives or our safety program, that sort of thing.
That's a pretty good model. So, I mean, I can understand the achievement piece because that's where the dopamine in the brain kicks off, isn't it? It's that feel good factor. You feel on top of the world, and you're ready. You're ready for the next rinse and repeat, more or less. Just to let you know, Charlie, we've got quite a lot of questions coming in from Manoj, from Regueg, from Tanir, Salom. Guys, I'm gonna hold these questions. I'm gonna come back to your questions. Not that we're not ignoring them. I'm gonna come back to you just to give Charlie the opportunity to go through these slides. So, Charlie, you had this slide up as well. Do you want to just give us a bit of background on this one?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So on the left-hand side, we've got, if you're looking at this holistically and PERMA with regards to what is positive and what is not, down the left-hand side, you've got those things that really do affect you mentally, physically, your social aspect of relationships and your self-developing and everything else.
We just lost you a little bit there.
Put in place. I thought we'd lost.
Sorry, Charlie.
So on the left, we've got bored, apathetic, complacent. That's your organisational malcontents and all.
Them gremlins are at it again, Charlie.
And on the right-hand side, we've got those people who are playing to their strength.
Charlie. Well, folks, Charlie did say that he was in a difficult place for connectivity. So we're going to, let me just check. Jorge, Sanjay, are you having the same problems as well?
I have some problems. I don't know.
Okay.
My end is fine. I can hear, but I can feel that glitches which is coming up.
That's okay. I can see you as well, Sanjay.
Oh. Yeah, back again.
All right, good. We're back again. I was just telling everyone that you got one of those Faraday cage apartments, haven't you, which keeps all signals from going in and out. So
yes,
we're going to mute again and let you carry on, Charlie. So you were talking about the left-hand side without and the right-hand side with. Charlie? it's probably the sort of biggest challenge I've had on live streaming to date, this one. Okay, so everyone, please bear with us. Charlie's trying to connect up. Let me just check. Yeah, he's still trying to connect up, so please bear with us. Charlie, are you there? No. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, because Charlie and I have gone through this slide pack. I think he's signed off, so he can sign back in again. In the meantime, let's just have a quick recap of some of these slides, because I know that it can be a bit busy with the slides. So, and some of you can go back a bit. So we started off talking about these. What is, first of all, workforce engagement? Pretty straightforward. It's like a stratification type approach. Those who are engaged, not engaged, and the ones in between who are listening but probably not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm being a bit harsh maybe there, but I think it sort of makes sense a little bit. So Charlie's back on now. And then we covered the Gallup poll, and we said we've noticed a bit of a difference in terms of... Charlie, I'm just going through the slides while you were trying to hook up there, just to give a bit of an update for some people who are trying to catch up. On the Gallup slides, we covered it, and then we came to a point where we talked about drivers and factors, and we said that basically some of the drivers are these. We talked about how you engage people and what the outcomes are, and then we nicely arrived at the Seligman-Perma model, and then to this slide, Charlie. Hopefully, it should be okay for you to crack on now and add a bit more flesh to the without piece and the with piece. Am I right in thinking, Charlie, that this slide is finished and we can go on to the next one? Tell us about...
yes, we can if you wish.
Yeah, I think when we open up the questions, Charlie, I've got a funny feeling we're going to play tag anyway and catch up with some of those slides. So tell us a little bit about this Glasgow analogy that you had.
Okay, well let me start with the analogy then, because this is extremely important with regards to engagement. Engagement, if we continue with engagement and we've got our positive relationships, we're competent, we've got our...
It's not very well today, is it, Sanjay?
Yeah, absolutely. But how the slides are going, it's pretty very good presentation what Charlie is delivering.
Yeah, it's just a shame we can't get the connectivity.
Absolutely.
So Charlie had
the workforce. Okay.
Sorry, Charlie had a great story behind the Glasgow analogy. I won't do it any justice because my Glaswegian accent is terrible. So we're going to have to come back to that one. Let's just go back and make a memo of these questions, Sanjay, and then when Charlie comes back, we can pick it up. So
yeah, what I understand as far as the slides are going, it's all about frontline leaders, how they make the compliance mindset for the workforce, getting employee engagement. So these are things with top Fortune 500 companies, doing for the employees when it's come to employees engagement,
Yeah, I think what I found fascinating about Charlie's slides is, and he talks about the positive psychology. I mean, we haven't gone into the whole story yet, but when he talks about the PERMA model and he talks about the bit about achievement, I can really resonate with that, because it's the reward center in the brain. I mean, when you feel that you're doing something great and you get that dopamine kick in, you're engaged, you want to go back for more, right? Okay. And I can fully recognize that. Now, whether
absolutely.
it takes...
when the employees are engaged and they see positive vibes are coming from the company and frontline leaders, definitely the productivity will enhance, because once they join, they are they know that okay, the company is taking care of me in terms of health and safety, in terms of accommodation, and other things what companies are doing for them.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, we just talked a few things about the slides, and we're going to come back to it. We've got a ton of questions for you, and I know you're having difficulty with connectivity. But Yeah, tell us about the Glasgow analogy. I was saying to Sanjay, I do terrible justice with the Glaswegian accent I've got, so it's all over to you.
No, you're all right. So when people are truly engaged at work, the sportsmen call it that they're in the zone. When they become so engaged at work, they become absorbed with what they're doing. And the litmus test for being truly engaged is that time compresses. Mm-hmm. You know, so the what they say in the UK that when you're having fun, you know, time flies.
Time flies. Yeah.
And what you're trying to replicate is this: when you're fully engaged, that time compresses. You lose all sort of. You're focused, like I said, this was what sportsmen call being in the zone. You're moving forward with stuff and you're progressing and things like that, and everything is working really, really well. So the ultimate goal of engagement is to get people into that state of flow or in the zone. So I grew up in Scotland, spent time in Glasgow, and I'm 58 this year. So in the early 60s and the early 70s, we had no internet. No mobile phones. There was 3 channels on the TV and it was in black and white. Okay, so that was it. So we used to go out and play football in the street at night during the summer, and there would be 15 or 20 people. And we would be playing. And before you knew it, our parents were coming out and saying, "Right, you, time to get in. You've been out here since 6 o'clock. It's now 10:30 at night." And we're all sitting there going, 10:30? We had, because we were enjoying ourselves. We had the social interaction. We were fit. We were running about. We lost all sense of time. And part of this engagement, when you get to that level, that's what we're supposed to be doing, and it's called flow, FLOW, and like I said, it's what sportsmen call being in the zone. And if we're going to get people to work to their optimum at work, we should be encouraging them and supporting them to get to that optimal level of being in the zone. Time compresses. When time compresses, that's the litmus test. That proves that you are really truly engaged in with what you're doing with regards to your work.
So time flies. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
so
yes.
we got a ton of questions to get through. So we'll just go through the slides again. I want you to talk to us about this real life example that you've put forward for us, and then we'll dive into some of the questions. Yeah.
Of course, absolutely. So the Riyadh BRT project, I arrived there May 2018. And it took me about 2 to 3 months to really get my head around what was going on, build up my relationships, and put my strategy together, because I didn't want to have to do what I was doing without strategy. And strategic. This is my strategy here. All signed off, all good. And my strategic priority number 3 was communication and engagement. And what I found was that. Things weren't contentious or adversarial, but relationships weren't good, particularly between the HSE team that works for the client and for me and the HSE teams that work for the contractor groups. We had roughly around about 5,000 people on the project at that time, and there was maybe 70 HSE advisors and different managers and things like that. And I wanted to change how we were doing things. And fundamentally, it came down to communication and engagement with people. So we established forums, which there's a photograph there. That photograph was actually taken 2 years to the day. So and that was the first traffic and safety forum that I put together. So everyone in that room is contracted HSE advisors, subcontracted HSE advisors, and guys from my team. And we built on that. We had workshops, we did safety leadership training and everything else like that. What I wanted to do was to cut down the barriers and bring everybody together. And one of the key things that changed things for me, and this is extremely powerful, and it's still with us today, is that what I found was that the majority of these people in this photograph, they were completely bereft of any gratitude. There was lots of good things going on, but everything was geared towards negative. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, that sort of thing. And I said, I can't work with this, guys. We really have to change how we're engaging and communicating with the contractors. So what we did was that we got them. We operate a find and fix policy because the project's so big, and we use WhatsApp a lot. So we find and fix things as we go, or we find and improve things. What we don't do is find, report, and then fix 2 or 3 days later. We just don't have time to do that. Yeah. So what we did was that I started saying, look, we need to look at the positives. We need to report on the positives, and anything that's been improved or rectified, we will say thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Big thumbs up. We know you've worked hard, etc., etc., etc. And the change wasn't immediate, but what happened was that it changed the dynamics. All of a sudden, people, gratitude drives positive emotions. We had people were engaged. We improved our relationships. People were working with a purpose and there was some meaning, and we were achieving things. So from an organizational point of view, there's an example of the PERMA model working.
That's very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so
but it was all the first thing it was the absolute change from the unhappy relationships, and the trigger for all of it was the gratitude, meaningful gratitude.
I get that actually, Charlie. So I'm making some notes because I want to flick them up towards the end, because let's take a few of these questions now and see how we cover this between the three of us with our sort of abilities. So let me go in top down from the first question that we had. So Reg says, thanks a lot for this, and then he says, hello gentlemen. Let's say hello. So Reg says, hello, John. As per my mind, let's say they have to be complying with workplace rules according to their employee standards. Yes, of course, I would say that, but I think that brings a totally different conversation, doesn't it? So what do you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Charlie? Sanjay,
yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah, my point of that is that links directly to engagement.
Sure.
If you want people to follow rules and standards, then they have to be engaged and they have to understand that those rules are there for a purpose and there's some meaning behind them, and also that they add value. And they're not just there to hit you over the head with a stick.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot, so I'll pan through these very quickly. Please bear with me, Charlie and Sanjay and everybody on the stream.
Take your time.
Tanner, hi Tanner, how are you? He says, thanks for this discussion. Actively engaged part is a bit harder to deal with, as per my experience. Ooh, wow, I think that's a very good point, isn't it? What do you think, Charlie?
We were talking about that earlier on. Is he talking about actively disengaged or engaged?
I think he means actively disengaged. It was my reading. He actually does say actively disengaged part is a bit harder to deal with.
I think you have to be efficient and perhaps even a bit ruthless with your time and energy. I think that like I said right at the very start, our focus and our energy should be those that are not engaged. Get them on board. What's wrong? What are you doing right? Those that are actively disengaged, I think you're wasting your time, and those people will disappear soon enough.
I get that. Sanjay, your thoughts are the same, are they?
Yes, absolutely. Because the company has to be, make the policy procedure accordingly, how they can make a better place for the employees, those who are working for them, because end of the day these are the resources which is deriving the company to the achieving the milestone. So we have to take adequate care for them, respect them, and giving them pride that yes, taking ownership and influencing them, because if they feel hesitate by themselves, they will definitely start distracting, and near miss and accident incident tend to happen there. And as per my personal experience, what I understand, whenever there is, progress is overruling the safety, then accident keep on increasing. So we have to, company has to balance all together, So that's it.
Okay, so Manoj has come in with quite a few questions. So let me rack these up and roll them out. Okay, so Manoj says, I feel for workplace engagement. I think it means workforce engagement. Primarily trust-building exercises needed from management. Once you convince people that there are greater chances that this engagement flourishes. Then he also says, I also feel that engagement is more about emotional attachment than professional. Wow, Charlie, there's some good ones, aren't there?
Yeah, that's good one.
Yeah,
because
no, trust is an essence of trust.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charlie, you go first. Go on.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say that trust is an essential part of a relationship. I think a Roman historian, Titus Livy, said that with trust gone, all social intercourse between men comes to nothing. So trust is part of a relationship. No, really, it's
true. I
intertwined with our relationships.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. As Charlie has discussed in his previous slide, that on the community what he's have derived and bring all the safety advisor, stakeholder, subcontractor together. Then the WhatsApp group is there. So the more you feel how to engage with them, then they will share all that information, and they feel they take the pride. Okay, let's discuss and resolve the issues which is there. So collaboration should be there. The frontline leaders, those who are there, either it's a supervisor, he's managing some of the guys, so they can chat, among themselves. And end of the day, we have to influence. How we can influence? We have to empower them basically, and we have to take adequate care of them.
Sure. In fact, Manoj does come back a bit later on one of the comments saying it is about trust-building exercise, which I think we've all just said anyway. So our good friend Salom, who's on the stream team, has said, when top management fail to address the basic health and safety needs of employees, they will definitely feel disengaged. Employees must feel that top management cares about them. Again, I think this is like an echo chamber thing, isn't it? Charlie, yeah?
Yes, correct. If the top management are like that, then they're not engaged, and we have to work out why they're not engaged. And in reality, they may even be actively disengaged.
Who knows?
This again, I'm going back to this whole aspect is very holistic. It can be dealt with individually, as a team, as an organisation, or whatever it is. But I come across it all the time. I've worked previously with management not interested, but I've had to get on with it and deal with it and build up the work that I'm doing as best as I can. That's life. Not everybody is going to be fully behind you, and like I said, you have to pick your battles, and you've got to get those people on side that are going to support and help you. And if others are not, then you have to get on with it.
Sorry, just the next one is Sanjay. Do you want to say anything on that one before I bring up the next question?
Yes, please move forward.
Workplace engagement requires,
Yeah, workforce. Manoj, you're on a roll today, aren't you? So here's another question from Manoj. Workplace engagement is not a one-time assignment. Well, I should think not. Industrial scenario changes every day, and everyday motivation and trust building needed to keep employee engagement, not only workers, but for executives too. Well, look, I can't disagree with everything that you said so far, because it is all about that, isn't it? It's not a one-time assessment. It's not a magic bullet just for now and forget it for tomorrow, is it?
Absolutely, and I think if you go back to the slide with the sound bars, the whole aspect, the 5 foundation blocks of PERMA is not prescriptive. It's descriptive. It's actually in flow itself. It will adjust itself depending on what you're doing and where you are and things like that. It's not something that's there 100% of the time. I don't have to be engaged in what I'm doing 100% of the time. I may have a task and things like that. So this is the whole thing is about flourishing as a whole. It's not just about but engagement is perhaps the most important part of that model. Because it feeds off onto everything, and particularly with regards to flow. So it's holistic, it's descriptive, it's in flux, it's not constant, it's a model that people can use, and certainly it works for me, and I think we've proven that with, we will shortly, but I think we're proving it with regards to the work that we're doing at the moment on the BRT.
Let's take a bit of a sense check for a moment, Charlie, because one of the things I'm notorious for, and Sanjay will say this, is I like to simplify things. I think of myself as
absolutely
in a position to be where I can summarize things, and hopefully I've resonated with what you're saying and what the audience is saying. So the first word is all about recognition.
Recognition,
yeah. We have to recognize that people, when they do good work, that they are given acknowledgement, made to feel good, a sense of achievement. Get the dopamine going, get them feel that buzz, of being wanted. All human beings, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's all about, wanting to feel loved, isn't it?
And commitment, collaboration is also most important.
Sorry,
commitment, collaboration, because you have to communicate, then only you can engage, so you have to know what is going on, and extract information and giving you a positive feedback, so that the employee and junior level shop floor, they know, okay, the senior guy is engaging with me, he take care of me, he knows the concern, what is coming up.
Okay, so you're right. I've got those on the cards as well. But going in terms of sound bites, recognition is the first one. Yeah.
Yes.
Then
trust.
You have to have
trust. This is part of your relationship.
Yeah. I mean, if any of these cards you don't agree with, chuck it back at me, okay? But trust is something. No. Trust is something that's very important, even if you talk about a personal relationship or relationship with your employees. Nobody likes a boss that, well, basically is like a... Have you heard the expression, the seagull expression, haven't you? Where they come from a great height, poo on you and disappear. Yeah, nobody likes bosses that. But, so trust, we agree, is important.
Yes, without a doubt.
This card I'm going to leave till the end. The next one is communicate.
Communicate.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand with recognition, hand in hand with other things where if you don't communicate with your workforce, really, you just live in a vacuum. You don't have the opportunity to help people or support people in any way. And as I said, I might be dumbing it down a bit, this last one, but the most important thing, which really echoes what Manoj says and other people have said here, being a holistic approach, is it's got to be evergreen. It's not a do it now, forget it tomorrow, or forget it for a week and it'd be all right. It's something that you have to work on, like any relationship is something that you have to work on a continuous basis. Have I missed anything?
No, I think that puts things into like you said, key sound bites. I think your last one, evergreen, is a nice turn of phrase. I quite like that. It's sustainable, it's meaningful, perennial. It lasts, but we have to cultivate and nurture and everything else like that. And I think the communication, the trust, particularly with regards to relationships, communication is key. What are we communicating? How are we communicating? And what was the other one you had? Was communication, trust.
Recognition. Recognition goes with the reward piece, about the sense of achievement, the dopamine, and so on. And really, you don't have to go out and buy a great big thick psychology book, or I mean, if you want to buy the positive psychology book, is fine. But look, I'm gonna be brutal here and say we are all human beings. We all understand each other. We know what makes us tick, what doesn't make us tick. Okay. And I think that if you actually are empathizing with the people that you're working with, putting yourself into their shoes, you have a greater opportunity to engage with them at their level, right? Don't try and put yourself, again, I don't want to sound like I'm on a soapbox here, but don't put yourself above other people. Treat them as you want to be treated. What's the expression? Give them respect and they'll give you respect back, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, let me. That's a very good point about respect. For instance, I respect both of you unconditionally, but I always know that I need to earn your respect in return, and we have to have that. The occupational health and safety profession or industry, whatever you want to call it, is moving rapidly into a different era, and we've got to move with it, whatever that is. But certainly respect, communication, trust, relationships, all build up to that. To help with this aspect of engagement. Because if I don't trust you, why would I go an extra mile to support you if I know that you're saying something about me behind my back or something like that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, if you misplace trust, you lose respect. You think of all the negative parts of the positive parts that we've said. I think you're on a slippery slope downhill, aren't you? Really?
Exactly that. Yeah.
So, Sanjay, any closing thoughts from you? I think it was a great presentation, but what's any closing thoughts from you?
Absolutely, it was a great presentation. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely. As
welcome.
Shared all that.
There notes. You go. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's perfectly all right. Because we have to take care of the employees and respect them, and then only, because in Expo 2020 we are doing many things to get the vision and values towards achieving what best we can do. It's all about, there are like active monitoring, proactive monitoring. These also comes how the leadership commitment is there, and how we communicate. Competency also make a relevant factor, because as I some of the guys like Manoj said, dynamics are keep on changing, so the employees have that competency mindset. Are they trained enough to perform any task? So these all things are also there, then only they will trust. If they don't know how to use XYZ equipment and they are not trained enough, so definitely
sure. And competency, being competent enables you to be engaged with your work.
Yes.
If you have the right skills, if you've got the right training, the right knowledge, you can knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this PDCA cycle plan, do check that continually improvement pops in. So these all things are there.
Yeah.
I think you've done great justice with that slideshow, Charlie. I'm terribly sorry you had technical issues, but hey, life would be a bit boring if we didn't have these technical issues. I still managed to keep a calm face, I think, but Sanjay will tell me later, I think. Can I just say, Charlie, some closing thoughts for you before I sort of say thank you and sign off? Any final thoughts from your good self?
Yes, I'm going to throw you a curveball, and I'm going, as they say in the UK, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Okay, and I'm going to use the PERMA model with what we've done tonight.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Right.
Okay, so positive emotions. Have we elicited? Have we gained positive emotions from our conversations and what we've done tonight? Absolutely. From my perspective, absolutely. I'm elated to be on here. I'm absolutely delighted. It ticks a major box for me. The aspect of engagement, I'm engaged. Time has flown. We're in flow. The hour has compressed. It doesn't even seem like an hour. Time has flown by. Of relationships. I've got relationships with you guys now that I can broaden and build, and I trust the people that I'm talking to. Meaning. There is purpose in this, but there's also meaning and achievement. For me, this is a big achievement for me. And this is probably the first time that anybody's ever asked me to come on and share my point of view. So, PERMA, tick, 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 all the way down. Proof is in the pudding, and it works. And it's all down to you, Mr. Gopal. All down to you, Sonny. So there you go. It works. The model works.
Listen, you made my head so big, I won't be able to get out of this room, okay? And my wife will say, get back in there and sort yourself out.
Yeah, bring you back down to earth. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Listen, I just want to say a couple of things for a sign off, okay? I've been in the game for 30 plus years, and I never, ever stopped learning. Never. I am absolutely indebted to you, because in the last few days, you actually started contributing to the live stream from, I think, show 2 or 3 onwards. And I thought, we've got to have you on the show. Okay. In fact, it was Sanjay said, we've got to get Charles on the show, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So
like-minded people are definitely, they have, like Charlie is having a lot of experience. He can definitely contribute and,
Yeah.
end of the day, we all are. Even I am also feel like I'm learning, every day. So
Yeah.
it's like that.
I mean, I never knew about
Well, there
the
you
PERMA
go.
model. The PERMA model is something that you introduced me to and is now in the soft drive, and I will remember it now for a long time. Okay, I do
Good,
recognize
good.
all of these. In fact, Salam's come back and made a few comments. Let's pick these up while we're consultation. The last one, yes, good point. Thus, creating all the avenues like forums, meetings, workshops. Absolutely, that's the communication piece. You've got to have a platform for communication. And Salam says,
Yeah.
trust, recognition, communication, evergreen consultation. Well done, Salam. I think I couldn't have done it better myself there. And Charlie,
Yeah.
I would just like to say that you're a real gentleman. You've got a
Oh.
lot on your plate. You've got a huge project to manage, and to share your time and come on the live stream.
More than welcome, Sonny. Seriously.
And more importantly, you've actually decided that you're going to help us by joining the stream team. So welcome to the little group that we are.
Welcome to the family.
Absolutely. And
Oh,
anyone else
thank
who wants to join. Today was an impromptu session where the stream team generally come on a Thursday, but there was some who just wanted to come on today, which I'm grateful for as well. So thank you. On a final note, I wish you a very good engagement as you get on with the job that you have to do. Project 8 management is very tough. But I look forward to grabbing you on Thursday, literally grabbing you on Thursday to talk a little bit more about workforce engagement with Sanjay and the stream team.
Sure.
But for now, I'd like to say, Charles McLaughlin, thank you very much for your time and your contribution.
You're more than welcome. Anytime. Anytime.
And I'll catch up with you soon. Take care, everyone, on the live stream, and speak to you all soon. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.